Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 28 of the Wimlex podcast. We're delighted that Wessel van Eeden is in our show today. Wessel is the Global Marketing Director of Justdiggit. Justdiggit makes dry land green again by inspiring and activating farmers in Africa and thus positively impacting climate change. In our show today, that is being hosted by Alexander and Willem, we will talk about how they regreen land and also about the innovative approaches that they have in bringing donators closer to the farmers that dig holes in Africa. And we will also talk about their communication strategies to make the NGO world look a little bit cooler. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're delighted that Wessel van Eeden, the Global Marketing Director of Justdiggit, will join us to talk about sustainability, digital business models, and how to disrupt the charity industry. Wessel, very nice to have you on the podcast. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, thanks Willem for having me and Lex. My name is Wessel van Eeden. I am Global Marketing Director for Justdiggit. And previously I was also the Global Marketing Director for a charity called Dance for Life.
Amazing. And could you tell us how Justdiggit works?
Justdiggit is a Dutch NGO. It started about 10 years ago with a guy called Peter Westerveld. He unfortunately passed away 4 years ago, but the best way to describe him, he was a crocodile Dundee, an artist, a pain in the ass, and a genius in one person. He was born and raised in Africa, and his father was responsible for the major deforestation of African soils. So as a kid growing up, he learned the local languages, he had a lot of Maasai friends, and he just saw the forest vanishing, and he started on a very small scale experimenting with reforestation techniques, using ancient techniques that have been around for almost thousands of years, but which kind of gotten forgotten in the African history because they don't have a written history as much as a more spoken history. And because of so many changes on the African continent, some of these techniques actually have become forgotten, and they are now reintroduced. And what Justdiggit basically does is, to put it very simply, is an automatic way of reforestation. So we turn degraded landscapes that have been degrading over the past 100 years back into lush green environments with very simple techniques. So
the big question then is how?
Yeah, there's several techniques, but I think the one that people know us most for is the digging. That's why we have a shovel as our logo. First of all, because it's as old as humanity, so it transcends all languages. But most importantly, it stands for action, because we believe when you look at climate change, because that's our ultimate objective, is to positively impact climate change, the time to talk is over. It's all about action and learning by doing, but not another research, not another conference where we talk about all the issues. I think besides Mr. Trump, the whole world is now aware that we are facing some serious issues when it comes to climate change. And how it works in many of the places where we work, actually all around the globe, due to deforestation, overgrazing, and a lot of that stuff, the top layer of the soil is becoming so hard, almost like concrete. So when it rains, the water cannot infiltrate into the ground anymore, which leads to the water that we have just flowing away into rivers, into oceans, causing downstream floodings and damage. So basically what we try to do by digging semicircular bunds, or earth smiles as we like to call them, we slow rainwater down once it falls, so that it gets the chance to get into the soil again. And in these degraded areas, you will see that there are still seeds and sprouts present in the soil. And when the water reaches that, they automatically regreen large areas of land.
So there's no additional ingredients necessary when you start digging?
No. Yeah, well, you need people and shovels. Yeah.
And does it all? Is it also true? Like if you look around here, there's some grass on the ground. So if you just would wait, and I think the soil here is good enough to that rain gets in here.
Yeah.
So if you just wait long enough and nobody steps on the grass anymore, will there be forest ultimately?
No, but I don't think we have. In the most grass here in the Netherlands and in Germany, and I think throughout Europe, is planted. So the areas where we work in Africa is like the original vegetation. So there's acacia trees, there's shrubs, there's grasses. So there's different kind of seeds and things in the soil. But in Europe, unfortunately, we have lost most of the indigenous forest long time ago.
Okay. That's interesting to hear, because I would have thought that like the last forest, I don't know, this was probably water before, and there's artificial land here where we are sitting. But I would thought that there's even more former forest in the soil than in Africa, because I remember a discussion last week I saw on TV because of all the burning forests that there was like a specialist for forest asked in the German TV. They say, okay, but the forest we have are like monocultural forests. They're much warmer. There's no like real self-regulation system. If you like compare a monoculture forest with like a real forest, so to say, it's like 50 degrees colder, even in summer, much better like in self-regulation. So and then I would ask, okay, if you like rebuilding forests, not only maybe in Africa, but in other parts of the world, maybe even in Holland, even though it's not that easy, and digging is not enough. How should it be done?
Well, I think in the European context, there is quite a lot of green, even though countries like Spain and Italy are also becoming small deserts, especially the south of Spain is terrible, and it's also really a big problem there for agriculture and for many things. And I have to be honest, I'm not the forest specialist when it comes to the European context. I know a lot about the African context. But it is a global problem, deforestation, and the less vegetation we have, the less carbon is being sequestered. That's why it adds to global warming. And now with the Amazon burning and with the forest in Siberia burning, of course, that's leading to a lot of carbon being put into the air again. But we focus on Africa because there's the hugest potential for restoration, because you have large plots of land which are still able to restore, and in Europe, of course, the size of land and the price at what it comes to restore that is not that big compared to Africa.
And is there enough rain? So because my impression of deforestation was that because of limited water supply, especially because there was not enough rain, the forest disappeared in the first place.
That's one of the biggest misconceptions about deforestation. Actually, the amount of rain in the areas where we work, for example in Kenya, is only 10% less than here in the Netherlands and Germany, in millimeters. Biggest difference is it falls in a very short period of time. It's very intense, and people just sit around, wait for the rains to be over, and then when it's over they go out, but then the rain is already gone. But the amount of rain is enough. It's actually in some areas even more than in Germany and Tanzania. Some areas get more rain than Germany, although they are completely degraded and hot. So, but it's not the amount of rain, it's the small intense period in which it falls. And these periods used to be very predictable. So you could say, okay, small rain season, big rain season, but due to climate change, that's now also really fluctuating. So the people don't know when to put their agriculture into the soil. They don't know when to harvest. It's really a difficult thing for them. But again, there are very simple techniques, very cost efficient, very scalable to bring back vegetation on a large scale.
So you clearly explained the problem. You also have a solution at hand. And then it's about the tactics of delivering those solutions. You need farmers to work with Justdiggit to dig the holes and report back to you on the work they've done.
Yeah.
Verbal storytelling is key in Africa. How do you reach farmers?
We work as an NGO. We try to work when we started through government bodies. That didn't work very well. Of course, there's a lot of cliches about working with government bodies in Africa, but we work closely with the communities who actually own the land. So, for example, in Kenya, we work with Maasai group ranches, and these group ranches are very big. You have to imagine it's half the size of the Netherlands can be one group range, and they own the land, and they have given up on big parts of their group range. So when we come to them with a solution, at first they were quite skeptical. They were like, well, who are these Dutch people with their ideas? But then we said, okay, give us a small plot. Let's demonstrate how easy it is. We'll pay you for digging the bunds just to get you started. And of course, that helps if you give a financial incentive. But now, after they've seen the amazing results, they've actually decided to dig more bunds. And we don't even have to pay them directly in some areas. In some other areas we're starting and we still have to pay them. But they see the benefits of the restored land. They get more crop yields, they get more vegetation, there's more water retention, so it's good in many aspects. But communicating with farmers in Africa is actually a bit similar to the way the world works here. People always have this idea that Africa is very behind when it comes to communication, but actually the large percentage of people owns a phone, and even in like bigger percentages actually have a smartphone. And that's also why we're so happy that we have now developed a platform, which I think you know about, that is allowing us to communicate with farmers one-on-one, and which is also allowing us to pay them directly. So there's no middleman, no big money-wasting operation. There's a really one-on-one connection with the people around the world who want to donate small amounts to make a big difference.
And so basically you're trying to get the supply and demand together in that platform.
It's a marketplace.
It's a marketplace.
Yep.
And could you explain a little bit more about how that marketplace works?
We see that, especially, I hate the word, but millennials, let's say the young people around Europe, they want to do something good. They are very committed to the state of our planet, but they feel that some of the more traditional NGOs have big budgets for big projects, which are very top-down organized. So they feel if I donate €5 to a 10 million euro project, where does that actually go? And how does that help? Do I pay someone's salary, someone's plane ticket, or someone's jeep? Or is it actually going to the impact that I'm trying to achieve? So we feel that there's a need for donation 2.0, if you will, a lot of transparency, and that's why we have developed this platform whereby there's a 100% model. So for €3.30, you can buy an earth smell, so one of these things that we dig. And besides some international transaction costs, 100% of that donation actually goes to the impact, to the farmer who's actually digging it, and for the maintenance of the bunds. So €0 stays with the Justdiggit organization. And on top of that, the farmer can use his phone to measure the impact. So there's no need for people who control them and stuff like that. It's really a tech infrastructure which allows the farmer to take a picture. He digs the bund, he takes a picture, it's uploaded into the system, it's approved or denied. And then when it's approved, it's connected to a donor in, let's say, in the Netherlands or in Germany. And then the money is directly transferred through M-Pesa, which is like the African way of payment. And that goes through mobile phones. So there's a 100% donation model there. And then the people who actually donated get a 100% personalized picture of their little contribution to regreening Africa, which hopefully they will share on social media, of course.
So basically, if I'm here in the Netherlands and I want to make impact, I go to your platform, I say I want to donate 10 bunds, and then €33 paid, 10 holes are being dug in Africa. And over what period of time do I get this feedback if the work is done and when it's regreened?
Yeah, we use Facebook. We have two things. We have a mobile website because we didn't want to do a new app here because of the install base. People don't want to install new apps, so we use Facebook Messenger as the platform to which we communicate. First of all, you get when you buy 10 bunds, you get a message, hey, your bunds have been dug, accompanied with the pictures of the specific bunds that you have dug, with the locations and everything with it. But then we take you on a whole storyline where if there's rain, if there's an elephant stepping on your bund, or anything that's newsworthy or that you want to know and that's shareable, we share with you through this platform.
And the bund, how big is it? Because for listeners, they need something they can think about.
Let's say it depends. We on the slope, the slope, and on the soil type. But on average, you can say it's about 6 meters wide and about half a meter deep.
And how many trees will grow in there?
There's not you can't say one bund is 6 trees. What we can say is every bund will, let's say in Kenya, we have now regreened 1,000 hectares using this method. And every year, 1 billion liters of water is being made available subsurface because of these bunds. And in each bund, vegetation will grow. And depending on where it is, it will be either an acacia tree, it will be a shrub, it will be anything that's originating there.
When did you start it? So is there any trees already, or is it like only very low vegetation?
Yeah, depends on your definition of a tree. But let's say large shrubs are now. Acacia grows quite quickly, so the first trees are actually there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And it's 6 meters wide, half a meter deep. So and then because when you said like €3 per bund, I thought you said just for like 2 shovels of soil. That seems to be expensive, but 6 meters wide, half a meter deep. That's like the average pool from a Dutch household with a pool, I would say.
There's not too many of those, but no, it's smaller than a pool. But let's say 6 meters wide. It takes one person, and you have to keep in mind this soil is like concrete, so it's really hard labor. It takes one person about 2.5 hours to dig one.
Okay, then €3 doesn't sound
It's
so
decent. We have
outrageous.
really,
Okay.
it's really difficult because you don't want to overpay people because then there's an economic impact on other infrastructure. So we really made a lot of research into what is the exact amount for hard labor, what's fair, and we went a little bit over that to make it attractive for the people to join the digging community.
And the average farmer, like the ones you pay them with like the African payment system, so what is like his bund potential, even though it sounds like a venture capitalist question?
Now we put a cap because they can only dig 10 bunds a day. Also because after that they have to get rest, and you don't want to have people who are in financial need digging day and night. That's not what we want. And we want the quality of the bunds to be good. So we really said you can dig 10, and we made sure that the payment that they receive for digging 10 bunds is completely in line with a very good wage for this kind of labor.
And how do you monitor this? How do you monitor if a bund is good?
We do it in project teams, and every
Bund fraud, that's a new word.
Al Bundy.
Yeah.
No, we have fundis, as we call them, in place who are seeing the bunds digitally, but are also in the field. So one fundi takes care of a lot of farmers, so he's just in the field checking the bunds with his own eyes, but also digitally. So there's a control mechanism in place, but it's not a very expensive asset. So you don't need like a control on every farmer because of the digitalization which we are able to develop. A lot of that 90% can be seen like digitally, and then if there's doubt, they go physically to the field and they say, okay, you need to change this.
What is the perception of the farmer when I would ask them today about your service, and tomorrow comes like the palm oil industry and say I would like to buy the bund out for €6 per bund? What would he do?
He wouldn't do it.
No,
because we have made it's not up to the farmer. So these are group ranches. They have long-term grazing management plans in place, sustainable land management plans, which they actually sign. So it's a law. It's not something they voluntarily do. It's actually a 10-year plan, 20-year plan, in which these people commit to having certain interventions and management in this landscape.
Oh, okay. But aren't you afraid of like other industries, like the palm oil industry, or like now the Chinese government is known for like buying big parts of African soil to grow stuff on there? Is that your competition?
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, of course, the fertile soil is one of the scarcest resources we have on our planet. But I would say even closer, like the tulip and the flowers that are there, they take a lot of water out of the system. So that's not even the Chinese, that's mostly Dutch, actually. But, I mean, in the long run, these people have a culture that is 1,000 years old. They don't want to grow palm trees. They want to be farmers. They want to be agricultural specialists. So that's what they want to do. That's what their parents did, their grandfathers. So if you can help them in doing that, which was very hard for them because of the quality of the soil, this matches with their culture.
I'm just questioning this because, like, when it comes to money, history usually doesn't count. So when there's like another incentive that makes them refilling the bund with whatever, like we have like a trash problem, for example, in Europe, then there's another competition that can be created. And then, let's phrase me that in another way. You say you've managed now 1,000 hectares. Is there like an unlimited supply of farmers that could do it? Would you say you can even go up to like 1 million, 10 million, 100 million hectares?
537 million farmers living in sub-Saharan Africa who are all owning, on average, 1 acre of land. And yeah, so there's pretty much an indefinite supply. I mean, nothing's indefinite because we live in a bounded planet, but for many, many years to come and for millions and millions of bunds, we can scale up.
How many bunds per hectare you can make? I know it sounds very ridiculous, but I
no,
really
it depends. It's a good question. It really depends. So there's not like a one silver bullet answer to that. It depends on how many trees are actually there. Are there rocks? Is there mountain formation? So it's not a one answer. A hectare is so many bunds. That really depends on where we are doing it.
But if like it's perfect soil, can you get a bund over bund over bund, like it's like placed to it next other?
I would always like to say it's a podcast, but if you see the visual, you would understand. It's basically like a water capture, and so when it overflows, the next one has to be positioned exactly in a way that when the water flows over, it becomes into the next one, and then into the next one, and then so it's not like you dig any random bund. It's real. That's the part that Justdiggit actually does come up with the design. So if the slope is in this direction, let's say the bunds always have to face the slope, so that when the water falls, if it's caught by the bunds, it's allowed to go subsurface. But when it rains really hard, it overflows, comes into the next bund. Same system. So it's sort of a slow down the water. That's the main thing.
You explained us about the platform you've developed, the marketplace, where you connect farmers to donators.
Yeah.
You're a charity, and I know, well, we helped you develop this platform. I can imagine that you are operating in a broader ecosystem with more partnerships in place to help you let the world know, for example, about the great cause that you're fighting, and maybe also in your work you do in Africa. So could you elaborate a little bit more about your partner network and how you reach your target audience?
I think what really sets us apart from a lot of the more traditional NGOs that we believe in the world today is so connected, and even no matter if you're a charity or a brand, if you're trying to sell a bottle of water or a bund, you have to communicate your product or your service to people. So we are very proud that besides the partnership with Debt, who actually came up with the platform and the whole infrastructure, we also have a global partnership with JCDecaux, with Havas, with many media houses who give us media space for free. But not media space like, oh, give us me a free media space and we'll raise some funds for another project. No, it's really, especially in Africa, it's all about getting awareness. And you talk about the 537 million farmers. If you were somehow
537 million farmers?
In sub-Saharan Africa, smallhold farmers.
And 1 hectare per farmer.
1 acre per farmer.
1 acre.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's a huge potential. And these people live off their own acre. So if you can somehow use communication in any form possible, whether it's radio, which is very powerful in Africa, but it can be billboards, can be television, can even be online, phones, what have you. If you can use that to get that message across and to show the added value for them, for these simple interventions, because they're really simple, that you don't have to go to a 10-week course to learn how to do it. It's a very practical solution. Then that communication provided to us is actually converting into actual regreening. And that's where we believe our theory of change is. Not to raise funds to have a bunch of Mzungus, as we are called over there, do some work there and then leave again, because then there's no ownership. But really to communicate like a brand towards the stakeholders, the farmers, to actually try and get them to do it themselves. And that's the real big upscaling theory that we have.
1 acre is a tenth of a hectare?
I have to. I'm not. We have acres and hectares, and it's smaller than a hectare. That's what I know for sure.
Okay. And you're explaining the way you reach the African farmers with communication means that fit well with African lifestyle, radio, phones, more above the line media, and maybe even some storytelling. How does it work in Europe for you? What communication methods are you using to reach me as a potential donator?
A bit similar, but the only big difference is that in Europe it's more still a bit more of a traditional message, whereby we can only show. A lot of people don't know that vegetation is. There's a recent scientific study that shows that if we were to regreen what's left to regreen on our planet, which is exactly twice the size of Europe or the size of China, because I just learned recently that China and Europe are at exactly the same size. It varies like a few 100,000 square kilometers. The one is 9 million square kilometers, the other is 10 million square kilometers. If we were to regreen that, we would mitigate global warming by carbon sequestration by 40%. It's 37 or 14, some studies. But anyway, close to half of global warming can be mitigated by bringing back vegetation. But it's not only that, it's food, it's water, it helps for migration, it's livelihoods, education providers, economic development. It's like almost the holy grail of development, and it's such a simple thing in a high-tech world that we live in, and actually a low-tech thing can actually be the biggest opportunity we have. Besides doing all the other good things, like I know you're into vegan promotion, so it's very important that people don't eat too much meat. There's a lot of stuff, renewable energy, wind, solar, stuff like that, but only doing that is not going to cut it. So we really have to restore nature and do all those other things as well. And then there's a roadmap now, which is being developed by the World Resource Institute, that if we do all of that, there's not only a theory, but now also a roadmap to a climate-neutral planet in 2050.
And still, that's a story that I would buy, but maybe not all donators who are giving to their current charity. So how do you convince them, besides the message, to switch? Are there specific media channels you use, or is this disruptive platform that the marketplace you developed, is that with the transparency argument, is that what they buy?
I hope so, because we're launching the platform this month, so I cannot say too much about the effectiveness of the platform, besides that it took a long time to build it with you guys. So I think we really optimized it. We went to Africa to check it a few times. Just for the record, it's completely funded by a corporate, which I think is important to say, that we're not spending donation money on developing technical support, and we get a lot of support from that by that as well. I think it's a mix of things. So we really believe in the power of storytelling, producing high quality content which has we always do it from a positive tone of voice. So we're not about, oh, the Amazon is burning and the world is going to pieces, we got to do something. No, it's always from a positive solution, like, look, nature-based solutions can mitigate global warming for 40%. Here's a project before, after. You can see the difference. It's very cheap investment, like €3.30 for a bund. Again, is I think a very small donation. So seeing is believing is really what we believe in. But it's a mixture of things. I wouldn't say there's one silver bullet solution. It's about a mixture of communication channels. Having the right ambassadors helps a lot.
Like Desmond Tutu. Desmond Tutu is one of your ambassadors. How do you get Desmond Tutu?
That's a long story. He was in my previous project. He was our patron, Dance for Life project, which was a HIV/AIDS awareness charity, and we just took him along with us basically. So Dennis, the co-founder of Justdiggit, and myself went to him, said, "Look, this is what we are planning to do," and he said, "Oh, I love it. I'm going to join you again."
I will try it. When is the platform going to be live?
Well, I just spoke to Koen, the guy who's in charge of the whole project here on behalf of DEPT, and he says today it's finished. So we are launching it as soon as possible, as far as I'm concerned. But
I will commit 300 bunds, so I will buy some.
300?
Yes. 300.
Okay, yeah. I'll put you down.
I will try it out. I'd like to learn about it.
Cool.
And you're in the power of storytelling. You set up an NGO before, Dance for Life, in which you organized global dance events to make people aware of the HIV crisis and how we could solve that. You're doing a similar thing now with rain dance. Yeah. How does that work?
It's a bit different because Dance for Life was reasonably successful because we were the first charity that actually worked with the DJs. So we started out in 2003, and because at that point electronic dance music industry was still a bit like slippery slope for many of the NGOs. So when we reached out to the Tiestos and the Fedele Grands, they all said yes because there was the first charity who actually reached out to them, and Dance for Life obviously matched. But the events we organized with Dance for Life were actually part of the educational program. So any kid who was in our educational program got a free ticket to the Gelredome in the Netherlands or in Germany in big locations. At the top, we were in 22 countries dancing simultaneously, and we connected these events via satellite. All the kids were dressed in white. But it was a part of the educational program. Now with the Rain Dance project, it's more of an awareness raising, sort of a live aid setup, where it's all about just getting the message out that nature-based solutions is one of the biggest solutions there is.
And when will Rain Dance take place?
Well, today on the DEPT Festival we'll give a sneak preview. So we have the Flexicon playing here, but actually next week Saturday is our, we call it a pilot, but it's almost a bit of an insult to call it a pilot. We'll have simultaneous events in the Vondelpark here in Amsterdam, with the Jeugd van Tegenwoordig, Donny, Naas, Cut _ many artists performing for free, but also André Kuipers, the astronaut, Floortje Dessing. So a lot of people who are committed to our charity will give active presence. And at the same time, there will be events in rural Kenya and rural Tanzania, in the places where the projects are actually taking place. So here again, it's a fundraising, awareness raising proposition, but there it's really to reward the people who have been active in regreening the land, to celebrate their achievements, but also to look ahead at what still needs to be done.
Don't dance in the band.
Dancing in the bunds, that's not a good idea.
Cool. It's a very amazing story. I hope the online marketing strategies will work out so that you will reach enough people. I hope the show will help you to reach a couple of people. I'm very interested to see, if I buy a couple of 100 bunds, to see pictures and updates from the elephant to stepping in the bund.
That is actually, I was there not too long ago, and we had 40 giraffes walking right over them. Yeah, so this was on the one hand a beautiful sight, but also no! Okay. It is an animal corridor area, so yeah, but it's really good to see that specific species of wildlife are now actually returning to these areas because of the green.
The ups and downs of a band. It's very funny what you can make out of a band.
It is, but the good thing is it's a one-off intervention. So once the vegetation returns, the root structure makes sure that when it rains, the water can still go into the ground. And I'm glad to announce that, I don't know if commercial branding is okay on your podcast.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yesterday we launched a global partnership with Timberland. So they're going to be bringing back 10 million trees in the coming 5 years together with us. And we just
through the band system?
No, they do a different technique in Tanzania, but it's comparable. I can go into it if you want to, but it's okay. Comparable. If you want to see it, go to justdiggit.org. It's all on there. But I think it's really cool to see that a big consumer-facing corporate is actually stepping up now, not only doing it from a CSR, but really from a purpose perspective to make this happen. And we see a lot of that, like companies who are really at the forefront. I think if you look at DEPT as well, you have so many young people working for you. it's really important for young people to have a purpose and not some CSR like, oh, we give our chairman of the board some check and he gives it to some poor old charity. And no, really to look at the product or service that you're selling and to find impact that you can realize in the world. So that's really cool. And then the next thing, and that is related to the buns, for the first time in our 10-year existence, we have gotten a subsidy from the Green Climate Fund, which is a fund that all of us pay together. It's the biggest fund when it comes to climate change. There's a few billion euros in there. And we are going to upscale the buns and the grass seed banks that we do in Kenya the coming 5 years with their money. So we just got that in as well. It's a
cool
scoop.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Amazing story. So I'm eager to share it then on the next show.
Definitely, yeah.
Thank you so much for being in our show, Wessel.
Thank you for having me, guys. It's an honor, and I love.
I guess there's going to be a lot of bun jokes in the future, but they're with it. Thank you.
We're still looking for a good name. Earthsmile, I have some discussions with my colleagues. So if anybody of the listeners has a good name for a semicircular, moon-shaped intervention that actually makes the Earth smile, I love Earthsmile, but please send it.
Leave it in the comments or send it to
Wessel@justdiggit.org.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.